the rundown. It is the 29th of January. I think I nailed it.
Yeah, you did.
Brought to you by High Noon Prez Pack. Here we go. Look for it with my face on it. It's in stores. Barstool Sports logo. What's wrong, Dan?
I'm just hearing if I could hear you. I have an echo now.
Come on.
Do you hear the echo?
Yo,
Put it on the computer. Fuck it. Who cares?
Wait, but if I don't know. I can hear an echo coming back, so I don't.
yeah. No, you have a little bit of I'm okay, but I can hear what you're talking about.
Right. It's a very big echo for me. What will you guys turn off? If you turn off,
who's in charge over there?
Wait. All right.
Yeah,
now,
that's better.
Yeah. So it was because it was on, and so it was going through the other one. All right.
The Prez Pack, like I said, keep that in there. That's shame on whoever is running that over there. My face, it's my flavors. I picked them. We got tangerine, passion fruit, pineapple, pear. I think it's the best pack there is. Look for a 12-pack, only limited time. Get it while you can. It's been out for a little bit, but some stores are just starting to get it. Look for, again, my face. You can scan the QR code and have me virtually join your party. Visit highnoonspirits.com to find the Prez Pack nearest you. Okay. You were off, Dan. I know everyone NFL, but I don't know if you just saw I canceled Barstool Radio. Me and Kevin were talking about it for like 10 minutes before you got on.
What happened?
What happened? What didn't happen?
Yeah.
Kelly Keegs and Francis. So I'm sure you saw Kelly Keegs versus Ohio Tate. These two, and maybe the most tone-deaf, brain-dead, idiotic Barstool Radio, they just didn't talk about it at all. Ignored it.
Today? For like
Didn't say a word about it.
Pretended
it.
Dude, they had like 5,000 concurrent viewers waiting for the start of the show. It's obviously been like a big talk. So even if you didn't want to do it, you got to know that you have to do it.
I like Kelly Keegs. Kelly Keegs went in on the Mean Girls and was like, I like controversy. How do you not? To Ohio Tate. And by the way, I read the blogs. It was a 10-7 round for Ohio Tate. Like, I don't know if Kelly Keegs was joking about like makeup and not being here on Fridays, but I didn't know. I didn't even know she doesn't show up on Fridays, but she doesn't show up on Fridays because she's like, I like to blog from home. Ohio Tate just did the math a la me on Smitty. She just does not blog from home. So and she had all these things. It's a pet peeve of mine. I read her blog, which was like, well, I hosted like the Survivor bar. You don't get credit for like doing a one-off. Like I did a marketing thing. You don't get credit for that. It was a 10-7 round, Ohio Tate, whatever. Everyone's talking about it. To go into Barstool Radio and just talk about Taylor Swift, which we'll talk about for 40 minutes. Tommy was on it. Dan, I called Tommy.
That's crazy. That might be even crazier than them.
15 minutes before the show, I said, Tommy, I have two questions. One, were you on Barstool Radio? Yes. Did you talk about Kelly Keegs versus Ohio Tate? No. I said, I have an additional question. Are you a pussy? Why not? And he's like, yeah, I was a pussy. So canceled. Those two aren't cut out for it.
Why Barstool Radio exists.
They're not cut out for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Francis and Kelly, the wrong people. Go back to blogging and doing whatever. You're not cut out for Barstool Radio. You'll never be back on it. You're out.
What about the dog?
The dog's disappointed. He actually came out, Dan.
Friday, the dog was great. I tuned in.
He also just tweeted, hand up, full responsibility. Half an hour. I'll read you what the dog said.
I had this combo with him. I know what he's going to.
Leader of men.
Responsibility too.
Yeah, he did. The dog said, let me pull it up. I failed everybody today. I should have gone in there when they spent the first 30 minutes talking about Taylor. I apologize to everyone I have let down. The dog will reflect and come back stronger.
Dog.
But you have to. This is the thing. Like,
you know?
At some point, somebody in that New York office has to be like, they're just not going to mention it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, and I mean, Pat that used to be on it, Nick producing, anybody within earshot should have been like, what's going on? I have to imagine there were calls. I'd have to imagine they just weren't putting calls through. There's a million, there's a million reasons why that should have been.
I do not know how they thought they could get away with that and show up tomorrow to Barstool Radio as though nothing happened. Maybe they don't want to do it. Maybe they want to do Barstool Radio. I don't know.
Well,
they're not doing it. They're not doing it ever again.
The only thing I would say is what I found out in doing it too is that when there's drama, Barstool Radio is great. And then in between, you have to figure out a way to do a show that's not like every single other show while you're waiting for more drama to happen. So I think they were like, we want to put together a show that isn't just reliant upon drama, which is the smart thing to do. But when drama happens, that's
extreme
like the whole
drama with the
reason
main participant. Both of them, because Francis's comedy show got called. And by the way, I don't know. I got to get a hand on that schedule. I talked to Francis. Francis said he just works on the weekends. I don't know. They're out of Barstool Radio. That's all I have to say.
The dog started. He hit the first domino.
Yeah,
he's the fire starter. Canceled? He's a straw.
Nate Dogg Friday is I got to think about it. I thought he carried his end of the bargain.
That's like Raw and Smack, or that's like WWF and WCW.
No, yeah, but we don't have anybody to do the right. They're out.
Francis, you can do Nate at Night.
Yeah. I mean, Francis and Kelly are out. They're never getting it back. There is no second chance. They're out of radio. They are not. They want to go do a totally different show and not use the name Barstool Radio. We can talk about it. Barstool Radio for them, no. They're out. That show is dead. There may only be one guy who can host that show, and it ain't the dog. It may be that lunatic we have in Boston. He may. I don't want to go that route. Gaz is asking.
I always say
why don't you and Kirk, Gaz, say that? Why don't you and Kirk do it? I said, because that'll be the end of our relationship. Not at some point, we will want to kill each other. And it's like, do I want to go down that? But so I don't know. But he's the only one probably who could do it.
You're right.
It's you, Kirk, and Nate are the only people who will just unabashedly scream at people and call people out. Nate's obviously of a different caliber. Kirk is off.
Well, Nate will. Oh no!
Yeah, the Undertaker, the Stone Cold glass breaks. Nate just bombs in.
Yeah, what I was saying is Nate can do it until he screams mental illness, and he can't do it anymore in 3 weeks, because it's like when Nate noogied me, and then I noogied Nate, and then Nate complained to Erica that I noogied him. It's like, I mean, we can't have that.
A lot of allegations being thrown.
Did that not happen, Nate?
Not the way you tell it, Dave.
How did it happen?
I gave you a love tap. You noogied me until my head bled every day for 3 weeks, and then we called a truce and you stopped. Erica was never involved.
That's not what I hear. I heard you went to the boss's office.
Sometimes people tell you what you want to hear, Dave.
Ooh. Whoa. Well, why would I want to hear that?
So you don't like, because you were noogie me until my head bled. So
no, I noogied you once.
What world do you live in?
Did I noogie you every day?
Yes, Dave.
Oh, you deserved it.
Maybe.
See, I think I want to watch this before I want to watch you and Minahan.
You mean Dave and the dog?
That's enough. Sorry, you. I saw you take. You saw I canceled the show.
Yeah. It was. You had to do what you had to do. I take full responsibility. I think it was an office-wide failure on everybody. Tommy sitting there saying
disgusting. Tommy's a little pussy. Disgusting.
Out of all of us out there, we were looking at each other like, should someone go in there? Should someone go in there? And then it was more like, you know what? This is their show, Monday through Thursday. The dog does Dog Fridays. We'll handle it on Friday. And Dave, this isn't a bit or a
How
joke.
did you get included to this, by the way?
Where
did you come from? Who gave you the link? How are you here?
Actually, wait. I think I know that, because before the show started, Nate was talking to somebody, and he said, just send that to me. And somebody said,
no, Kevin, a good idea. No, Kevin. A producer said that we might need you on.
No,
and I said, okay, let me know.
Who?
JR.
I think you said send that to me, and somebody else said, I don't think that's a good idea.
I said, I'll do what I'm told.
Nate's a leader of men. That's all I learned.
I think Dave,
and by the way, I didn't even tell Kelly and Francis. I was so fucking disgusted by it. The team Portnoy guy called Tommy, and when it was confirmed, it's not even. It disgusted me on such a level. Like, what are you doing? Or the answer is they don't want to do that show. They're not. They don't want to be controversial. Francis definitely doesn't. But I thought Kelly liked that.
I feel responsible. I feel like it was my duty when they weren't talking about it, to go in there and be like, what the fuck is going on right now? but I didn't do it. I was going to wait till Friday. And I regret it. I should have gone in there. I apologize to you, Dave. I apologize to everybody who was working on the show. It was a failure by me.
It was a failure, and it's
I accept your apology.
Yeah, sure. I
Now,
guess.
Dave, can we still do Fridays? But can we do it on Thursdays?
TBD. I'm going to decide what we're doing with it.
I was saying, why don't you do a night show once a week, Nate at night?
Yeah, like I don't think it needs
We're
to
all the
be
way full
Barstool
circle.
Radio.
Correct. Yes. Right.
Yeah, like it has to be its own thing. Like it should
Like
just be
Barstool
Nate at night.
Radio may come back again in a different iteration, whatever. But that name, I don't know that we just. So
That was even part of it when we were transitioning out. They were like, we might want to change the name because radio was antiquated. And I was like, if you just change the name and the hosts, you're just doing a different show then.
Correct.
So just go do a different show, but it's got to be.
Yeah.
Barstool
Why couldn't
Radio.
you? Well, you don't need Barstool Radio, Nate. You could do Nate at night.
On where? What platform, Dave?
I'd tune in Nate at night.
I think he
go-
can use I think he can still use the main channel for that.
Yeah.
Like the Barstool Sports channel.
Yeah,
Mhm.
go
The
live on
only
the
thing
Barstool-
about him doing, listen, I'm not committing to anything. The only thing about doing a once daily show, a once a week show attacking people is there's no platform to return fire. Where
Right.
like before there was, now that show is gone.
But he can
That's-
invite people on.
Yeah.
That would be. I mean, Nate, would you agree that if you're gonna take shots at someone, you have to?
Allow them to come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking
Ahead of
forward
time,
to
you
radio
feel like
today
tonight
for
you
that
were
exact
going-
reason. I went at Francis pretty hard and Kelly somewhat hard. I expected return fire, especially from Francis. Like he can dissect someone with his words like very well.
Well,
and
maybe that's coming. He has more
It-
time now to do that.
But
Let's
yeah,
keep him in
Francis
what
at
they
night.
do.
He'll blog it,
Francis
he'll blog
at
it
night.
above.
Francis at night.
Francis at night.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. See you, Nate. I know we got to kick you off or else you'll stay on for the whole rundown. Bye. So
Bye.
that we had to address that at the top since it just happened. Into the NFL now. Start with the early game, Ravens versus Chiefs. Dan, you had your future on the Ravens. Lamar, Dion was texting me too, leading
Me
up to the
too.
game.
Me too.
Lamar is exactly who we thought he was, and it's no accident. The better you get, the better teams in the playoffs, the deeper you get, the better the competition. If you force that guy to throw, he is not inaccurate. He is not a good thrower. He's a running back playing quarterback. Granted, they still maybe could have snuck the game out of there if there's not the fumble going in. But what they scored was 17-10, 10 points.
Yeah.
Just
It was
nothing.
brutal. It was brutal. I felt like the Ravens. I mean, you texted me after the first 5 minutes, like you're
Done.
dead, and I just responded. I was like, "Yup," because I don't know what it was. The Ravens just did not show up to play. Like their defense played the last 3 quarters. They played really well, but their offense just was a no-show. And it was Lamar missing guys, and it was also that team can run the ball, and they just didn't run the ball. It was insane. It almost was like, Dave, that they got there with a plan. Like they went 3 and out, the Chiefs scored a touchdown, and then they panicked and they're like, well, what are we going to do? We got to do everything different.
The reason I said I thought you were done instantly was Mahomes to Kelsey. It was like Brady to Gronk. It's like, here's these two guys,
I was
and they're
gonna say,
making
at what point is it
every
just-
play. But there's some plays they were making that just 2 Hall of Fame guys
magic.
making Hall of Fame plays. And that's what the Patriots used to do. Combine it with the Ravens just making every little mistake, the Chiefs pounding on it. And I know I agree, Dan, the 3 quarters of the Ravens defense, but Patrick Mahomes is getting to a level where I think he's so smart. It's
Yes,
like, okay, I got to
agreed.
go score now.
Agreed.
Otherwise,
you saw it in the Bills game. The Bills game, they knew that the Bills were going to be able to score points. So they're like, we have to keep the foot on the gas here. This game, I think at halftime, they're like, Spags is just eating their lunch. It doesn't like, if we just don't make a crucial mistake, a fumble or interception in like our own territory, we win this game.
Yeah. So
At what point though, like everybody kind of is saying like he's the next Brady or on pace to be the next Brady, but I almost feel like we're not treating it the same way because like going into that game, if it was Brady, we'd be like the Ravens are not winning this game. They have no shot. The Bills.
Well,
have
no,
I just-
because you got to remember when Brady went in and they were older, but they were like 5-point underdogs at Kansas City in the middle of their dynasty, and they went in and beat them. And I just because
Brady, I'm saying Brady was the one who beat him. I'm saying at this point now, the league belongs to Patrick Mahomes.
But at that time, it didn't belong to Mahomes. I'm saying it belonged to Brady still, and everyone's like, "Well, Brady's going to lose." And they used to play the Colts.
I'm talking about now and going forward,
yeah, but Kevin.
You talked about you had you wanted the Bills to win with 35-1 and the Ravens to win, and if it was like the Patriots, you'd be like, I have no chance here because.
Well, I knew I said that on Friday. I said that if I didn't have the Ravens 18-1, I would 100% be betting on the Chiefs here. I have to figure out a hedge strategy because I just don't hedge. I'm really good at finding the futures, not winning them. So I expected it. I wasn't going in being like the Ravens are a lock.
Right.
I think though they're like Brady in that you remember, Kevin, there were years where like everyone buried Brady.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Dynasty, and they're like, this team stinks. It's
That's
different.
what I'm saying.
That's what one of this year's was, where it's like everyone's like, oh, they stink, and then they just find a way.
And that's why I'm saying they remind me of the Patriots, and I'm sure that's how Kansas City fans feel. It's like they're underdogs, Ravens this, that, Bills, and Chiefs fans are probably just sitting there as Mahomes and Kelsey are like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah,
like we'll see who's who. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. Granted, it opened, I believe, San Francisco -3. I think it opened. It's to 1. Last time I checked. So now not as much in San Francisco. Well, we'll get into that game next. San Francisco hasn't looked good. Taylor Swift has added a whole new element to this entire like Chiefs run. And people like she was getting heckled this time at Baltimore. I love Taylor, so I'm all in it. Her and Kelsey are making out after the game. She's bringing all this luck. She's got to get from Tokyo all the way in. The picture with her and the what's his name, Andy Reid, like pointing at each other.
Looks like they have some history.
No, I mean, that's why I'm sure you're such a pervert.
What did I say? They had history. They can't know each other.
Over here.
They can't know each other, Dave.
Very, very. Dan, I'm getting lots of texts being like, and DMs, more DMs being like, you have to do something about pervert my take. And I can't do it. I'm all in on this love. I'm all in on the Chiefs doing the Super Bowl. I root for the Chiefs. I had them last week. I was 2-0 against the spread last week. I think they win the Super Bowl. I do
too. I bet it. I bet it as well.
Absolutely. If not for football reasons, it's Taylor Swift more than anything. It's like this season ends with her at midfield under the confetti. That's it. It's over. Just don't even play the fucking game.
And I will also say people saying she's ruining what do you want Taylor Swift to do? She's a megastar. She can't stop them from
those
putting her
people
on
are
camera.
stupid. Those people are stupid.
What does that even mean? The camera cutting to Taylor Swift like 4 times a game is ruining.
Did you see her say, stop showing me? Because she's getting heat for it.
People who get genuinely upset about it are losers. Like we're watching football. They show fans in every sport. Kevin, I had someone tweeted, which was very funny, and I didn't think about it this way, but Mahomes' greatness and where he's going for his career, because he's 28 years old. He might win his 3rd Super Bowl. He's gone to 6 straight AFC Championship games. This might be a flip where Tom Brady is like, thank God for Tom Brady because he stopped Mahomes from having 4 Super Bowl wins when he was 28. Because like if Tom Brady didn't beat him twice, Mahomes legitimately could be playing for his 5th Super Bowl at 28.
28.
That's crazy.
I think he's just going to keep going. Like
I will say
5 or 6 in a couple of years.
The Bengals. Everyone has totally forgot about Joe Burrow, and yes, he's getting hurt, but that to me, he beat him already, and
he beat him once, but now you have 2 major injuries, and it's like
the injury is a major factor. The injuries are made, but the Ravens ain't it. The Ravens are not it. They're not going to win with Lamar. They are not going to win with Lamar. You don't win with a like run first quarterback like that. You just don't. And it's also like he gets in his own head. I feel like he's like, I'm not going to like the other guy, which we'll talk about in a minute. Purdy, he's running all over. Like it almost seems like he gets in his head and doesn't look to. I don't know. He just.
The other thing from this game, and people are gonna get mad at me because they, I'm a Josh Allen stan and a Glazer, but like Josh Allen has played like perfect football against Patrick Mahomes.
100%.
His defense has failed him.
It's
like
the Bills and the
if Josh Allen was on the Ravens win that game. Like I saw the stat. It was like the Ravens made 7 stops against the Chiefs on Sunday. The Bills made 2 stops against the Chiefs.
Correct.
Like that's the gap there. Like
when you mention Josh Allen, can't win. And it's rare to say this. He's played almost perfect. He played one legit perfect, and he played pretty much perfect. Diggs drops a pass. I mean, the pass he threw. And by the way, Ravens fans who are talking about the refs begging for a pass interference when he threw into quadruple coverage.
That was the worst pass I've ever seen.
How do you call to the ball while you're running into triple coverage, calling to the ball like that?
That was the worst pass I think I've ever seen, because given the circumstances, the fact that it was triple coverage, the fact that it was a 10-point game and you needed bare minimum a field goal with your Hall of Fame kicker, that was one of the worst passes I've ever seen.
I don't know if you saw, we'll talk about it later. Bosco, I was with Rico all weekend. He's a lot crazier than even I knew. And I thought he was probably one of the craziest people I've ever met.
What happened from this weekend?
Nothing specific, but he's constantly in crisis mode. I've never met anybody like his life. He will never not be in crisis mode. He
takes phone calls. He'll take a phone call and then he'll hang up and it'll be like, Bosco. And it's how do you get this many phone calls? I can go a week without getting a phone call.
You'll just be watching the game. He's like, oh, fuck. Oh, it's like, did your house burn down? It's non-stop crisis mode. I've never seen anything like it. But he had a line. They were down 17-7 when Tucker kicked that field goal to make it 17-10. He said he'd be better off missing it.
How?
What?
His logic somehow was he didn't think they'd win the game, so you might as well get one of your misses out of the way rather than miss next season.
Oh my God. That sounds like something a person who has never watched a game of sports in their life would say that.
He also, I don't know if you saw this, Kevin, I texted Dan. So we went to the horse track. There's 4 guys. I've never seen this. He's talking about his cigars all morning. Cigar. He brought one for himself. Miko Bosco had in a plastic bag.
He can't help himself. He can't help himself.
That's almost impossible. Like, you have to actively get rid of the other ones. Like, it's
it is the most selfish move.
And then did he like smoke it in front of you guys?
Well, I called him out. He brought out. I was like, you brought one, and then he kind of knew it right away.
I almost love it.
He can't stop himself. It's so funny.
He's on a different planet.
This is why he'll always be year-to-year contract, but he'll always get a contract, because who else in the world would say that and do that except for that guy?
Right.
He asked me about
it on purpose. He just is who he is.
He literally thinks he has the hardest life. It doesn't matter if you're in the Middle East with your house being attacked. He thinks he has it worse right now. Like, for real. It's crazy. Factor, get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for this new year. Factor's ready to eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning, sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery store prep work, cooking fatigue. Get chef crafted, dietitian approved meals right to your door. I want to say something. Factor sponsored Surviving Barstool, and I saw people like, oh, they can't like those. Factor is great. Factor is legit great.
Love it.
Factor is one of the sponsors that I was using before they became a sponsor. I found it on my own. You change the menu every single week. You change it up. It's good food. And it's also like, if you are someone who doesn't like to cook and is like, you go home and it's ready. It's right there.
A lot of the other meal prep, when they're like, it only takes a half hour. I don't really want to cook for a half hour.
No.
2 minutes in the microwave, you're done. I don't know how
legit good.
And the menu changes where it's at, because you don't get sick of it.
Yeah. So like I skipped the rest of it, but that was a real read. Head to factormeals.com/rundown50. Use code rundown50 to get 50% off. That's code rundown50 at factormeals.com/rundown50 to get 50% off. Legit good. The second game, holy shit. I said it, and I know there's worse losses, maybe, but I don't know if there's a worse loss for a city that is so desperate. There's nothing worse than losing a game when you know you're the better team. And the Lions were the better. I don't even know it. Listen, he doesn't want to kick the field goals. He hasn't kicked field goals all year. I think you got to kick the field goal to tie the game.
I agree with that.
But I can
The
still.
first one I'm okay with because that is Dan Campbell to a
Yes.
T. Like I'm a big believer. If you can't change who you are just because it's a playoff game, elimination game. Dan Campbell, the reason they're there is because Dan Campbell is balls to the wall, aggressive. All the guys know that. They ride for him. And like that play, like Josh Reynolds drops the pass. It was in his hand.
Right.
It was in his hand.
Even the second one, which I think is crazy, but that's how he's been crazy when he went for the extra point. He's crazy, fine. But the chain of events, the ball off the guy's helmet, the drop passes, the fumble, which was really a bad exchange. He never had it. They dominated that game. Like they dominated start to finish.
I don't think I've ever seen a game get away from a team winning like that. It was like, oh my God, not only are the Lions doing it, like they're kicking their ass, and then boom. I was like,
and it was a series of like fluke, weird plays.
But that's why I think was the worst loss ever, because that's Detroit. Like that's what always happens.
The end, I thought, was actually the most egregious. Like, if you want to really criticize Dan Campbell, the use of
timeout
at the end was so bad. That was worse than the fourth downs, because the fourth downs, at least it's consistent with who he's been. That was just
you got to run. If you're going to run the football, you run it on fourth.
And if you're going to run the football on third, I thought what they were doing is they were running on third and then rushing the field goal team out and kicking a chip shot. But the fact they used the timeout, that was the game.
That was the game. That was the game. But the bigger to me is, if you are going to try to rush it in and throw it on third, stops. If you go for it on fourth, you get stopped on a run. The game's over anyways. Their ball, so who cares? So
Brock Purdy, by the way, like I know he's criticized a lot. I go back and forth with him, but in the 2 playoff games this year, he's looked really bad to start, but he's made big plays when he's had to, and he did make like huge plays with his legs and passing at the end of the game there.
I had it typed in that Brock Purdy sucked. I did not press publish, and then he took off. I was largely doing it because anytime, which is the most unfair thing in the world, I say LeBron or like Lamar stinks, people call me racist. Even though I say Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. So Purdy was being pretty bad, but he saved it with his legs. He made all the big plays, legs. And by the way, not easy. Those, like, he broke the line of scrimmage, like, barely, and those are the plays that won the game. So
Wait, what do you think about this? The talk in the New York office was that the Lions have not had enough heartbreak because they've never had a loss where they were right on the precipice.
So that is the Chicago Cubs versus the Boston Red Sox.
Right.
That is
the Red Sox were
is.
good but lost. The Cubs the first World Series they went to since 1945 was 2016.
Won, right?
Yeah, I don't think you can not have enough heart. They haven't had heartbreak. They just have been horrible.
Been bad, yeah. So but I think as a fan base, as a city, as a team, 70 years, original team, never made it before. I think they've done enough this year.
Yeah, they've had misery, but they haven't had heartbreak. It literally is the Cubs Red Sox when they both hadn't won. It's like the Red Sox would get right there and they break your heart, where the Cubs are just awful.
The one thing you could say, counter argument to the misery part, I think they have had misery. It just looks different. They had arguably, one of either the best or second best running back of all time, arguably the best or second best wide receiver all time, and nothing to show for it. And both guys retired early because they were just sick of playing for the Lions. Like that's heartbreak. That's definite heartbreak.
And I do think unfortunately the city matters a little bit. Like people lump it in with, it's not the most glamorous lifestyles. Like there's nothing else to really hang your hat on. Like if you were not rooting for the Lions, if you're a Niners fan, fine. Everyone else in the world, if you were rooting for the Niners, you're a sick fuck.
If I was a Lion fan, I don't know that I'd be able to leave my house or turn on the TV for like 3 months.
And I know that they're good and young and like they should be a contender for a while to come. But it just feels like one of those things where it's like
what Dan Campbell has said is 100% right. Yeah. And he was already motivating for the next year, but he's like, we may not be back here, because he's right. We have the target now, NFL injuries, free agency, whatever.
Twice as hard. Yes, twice as hard.
And they're kind of fucking him with that quote, by the way, because what he said is true, but just the quote of like,
when you read the whole thing, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
but
And the hunger to get there, all of it.
It's exactly the quote you want, because you don't want to go in there and be like, you guys, don't worry, we'll just get out here next year. We'll be right back in this spot. Like, what is that?
But people are seeing that quote and being like, well, you shouldn't have gone for it. You're the reason why, all that shit. It's like, if you read the full quote, it was actually a perfect coaching.
Yeah. 100%.
The other part about the going for it, which I just need to mention, it actually, the biggest issue the Lions just didn't address is they just didn't have a kicker they trusted. The kicker they had in that game lost his job in training camp to a kicker, then lost his job in the regular season, and they brought him back. Like, that's just if you had Justin Tucker or Jake Elliott or like Butker, I bet you they kick all those.
I don't know.
Automatic.
He's a crazy
He
person.
is crazy, but it's different when it's automatic. Like, they do not trust that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about that is he still went for 2 on like the 7-yard line when that's an automatic extra point.
True.
He's still wet. He's nuts. He goes for
balls to the wall.
Yeah, the tying field, like, there's no guarantee you go score a touchdown. It's sad. It also makes Super Bowl week. It would have been a lot of fun with Detroit people there.
Yeah. I know. It would have been, even Detroit, Baltimore, like having something new. It's still going to be a great Super Bowl because it's, the 2 best teams, and Mahomes is like, building a legacy for being, one of the greatest of all time. But yeah, it would have been, I wasn't rooting for the Lions, Kevin, just because I reached my limit with division rivals where I was like, I was rooting for them to win a game, and then I rooted for them against the Bucs because I hate Stephen Shea. But then I reached a point where I was like, wait, I have to step back. Like,
that's fair.
I can't root for these guys.
Division rival and Bears, I get that. But anybody else,
everyone else in America should have been rooting for them.
Brutal. Jared Goff is like the nicest dude. There's nothing to.
He played great. Goff played great.
And he's been passed off like, he got thrown to the dump, and I think he's one of 5 quarterbacks that have ever taken 2 different teams to the championship.
Yeah, he's flagrantly underrated for how he's performed. Super Bowl, we talked about briefly. There'll be a lot more. The early line, I thought it'd be a pick 'em before it came out. I think it'll end maybe around a pick 'em. I just don't know how you go against Mahomes. I mean, the only thing is, and I know people are like, oh, it has nothing to do with it. It would be on par for like Mahomes has decimated Dan, and now Dan has flipped onto Mahomes. That rarely works.
No, it's the unstoppable.
Rarely works.
It's the unstoppable force versus the immovable object.
Yeah,
Mahomes,
and I'm with you.
If you're
my game of the year.
Fan, if you're a Chiefs fan, you fucking hate Dan.
I'll never be allowed in Kansas City again.
Yeah,
I have noticed in my gambling career, strictly gambling, when you bet against a team and then you try and they keep killing you, and then you jump on them.
No, hold on though, Dave.
Never.
The only difference in this one is, and this is obviously, I'm an idiot for placing any AFC futures. Friday, I said on all the shows I did, I was like, if I did not have this future, I would bet the Chiefs. So I kind of was, you know what I mean? Like, I know people are like, oh, you're playing both sides, but I'm being honest. Like, I placed the bet in August. We get all the way to January. If you told me there was no future, I would have bet the Chiefs no matter what. And I said that before the game.
So going forward, let's say the Chiefs win this year. Like, next year, would you treat him like you would treat Brady in his prime, where it's like they're going to the championship every year?
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to the AFC championship.
AFC championship.
I guess you can't pencil in Super Bowl, but absolutely.
Now keep in mind, Brady lost 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah, but it was also weird. I feel like that.
But he could have lost more. Like Brady's Super Bowls, with the exception maybe the Bucs one. Like, he could have lost 3 of them that he won and won all of them that he lost. They were like balls off heads, Malcolm Butler. Like, it was crazy.
That weird run of like 8 years where they didn't win, in hindsight, is like the weirdest thing to ever happen. The fact that, like, I just don't know if that's something like that will happen again. So I feel like Mahomes is just going to keep going while he's
I don't know. You got that AFC is loaded.
So young. But that's what I mean. That AFC to me is like, no, it belongs to Mahomes. I don't even.
Well, I think Buffalo took a step back. I still think Josh Allen can win and will get his eventually. Burrow, if he stays healthy, and then you got the kid in Houston if they can build around his legit. Yeah.
The one thing you have to deal with, Dave, is because the playoffs are different now and there's only one bye. Like, if Mahomes doesn't get the bye and he just keeps ripping off wins, he has more playoff wins than Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
well, Peyton Manning's a bum.
I know, but it's crazy. He's 28 years old.
I was a leader of men, Patriots keeper, the dynasty keeper. I am out front saying any Patriot fan who's like, how can you ever talk about them? No, they're doing it. They are earning it. And it was beautiful watch. I could have closed my eyes yesterday and been transported back in time and felt like, oh, there's Brady to Gronk.
Do you think Brady hates it?
Yeah.
He's got to. Like, I read an article about Montana, how Montana had a solid, 15 years where he was the unassailable, GOAT. And it was basically a whole article how he's like, people forgot me.
Yeah, no.
Now this is happening, instantly.
Yeah. But he's getting brought up. But Brady Brady will come back and try to play.
The 2-0 that Brady has on Mahomes does help a lot.
Yeah.
It's and especially the fact that it was Brady at the end of his career. So you
in Kansas City.
And doing it, having a second team means a lot as well. Like,
he does have that trump card forever.
But
all right, moving on. Quick, Providence versus Ed Cooley. Providence gets the win. There's a big rivalry. I missed it because of the Pegasus. Ed Cooley's the worst. His quotes after the game, like they should write me a check for getting the crowd this long. Of course, Bosco was rooting for Georgetown, which him and John Goodman. He is John Goodman. College basketball, people are like the Boscos and the Jeff Goodmans. They have no lives. Like Bosco's getting mad watching Arkansas State. And by the way, he thinks he's best friends legitimately with the guy from Alabama.
Yeah, oh yeah. Nate Oates.
Best friends.
But Nate Oates wouldn't come on our show.
I brought that up.
And what'd he say?
He was on the field, something crazy. But shout out Providence. We had to give it. They beat Ed Cooley. I hope Georgetown sucks the rest of their life. John Goodman, who's an absolute idiot, is threatening to sue kids for fucking.
John Goodman's a good guy.
The worst. Jeff, whoever his name is. Horns down. We talk about this all the time. So BYU's playing Texas. Kids in the front row have horns down written out. They had to change shirts. I don't know what the horns down. They're making it sound like it's like the N-word. I've never seen anything.
It's like a racial slur.
It's crazy.
This was crazy. BYU, by the way. I think that plays it because the BYU made them take it.
But it's everywhere. Didn't the Big 12 have that as a penalty?
Yeah.
And the coach of Texas the other day.
Yeah.
What
no, it's
the
crazy.
hell?
And also, it feels to me like if I was a student, if I was a fan, I'm doing it 1,000 times.
100%.
It's
almost like Goodell with us. The only way you're going to get this to stop is that I don't fucking care.
Right.
Who can? You don't see the chomp when you get chomped after you lose the Gators. They don't start crying. It's nuts.
Yeah, the coach. The only way to get this to stop is the coach when they lose a heartbreaker. He's got to do horns down himself.
They have to do it. They got it. Yeah.
That sucks. Horns down.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about the other stuff. Keegs versus Ohio Tate. Barstool Radio canceled. And again, Bosco. I mean, I guess you've spent a lot more time with him, Dan. His
Wait, what made you give him the nod to go to this?
He asked. I thought we were all going.
I was going to go, but I have the Super Bowl and all this shit coming up, so it's tough.
Yeah, I thought we were all going, so he wanted to come. Great, but that part I've never seen him when he just the theatrics of he honestly acts like someone called him and told him someone in his family died every 35 minutes.
Hey, Dave, I remember when this happened to me because I had the same experience. We drove from New York down to Philly for the Philly gambling cave, and it must have been 2020 or 2019, whenever it was. And we drove, it's an hour and a half drive. He took 16 phone calls sitting next to me. And I was like, what's going on here?
He's a big phone call guy. It's always a call. It's
and he leaves with you there, a call, he storms out. If he has somewhere to go, it honestly, that's the best way to describe Bosco. Constant crisis mode. He will never not be in crisis mode. It doesn't matter what it is. So,
how
shout out.
How is he the guest?
He honestly, I think he used this just as an excuse to sleep.
I understand that. I understand that.
He was just sleeping a lot, in the day, snoring loud.
He was getting his Z's.
Just tons of sleep, and he drinks 3,000 Coca-Colas a day. He was just sleeping, drinking Cokes. Shout out.
I respect that move because if you have kids and you get a day away, it's like, yeah. I'm gonna sleep.
Yeah, he didn't really come to hang out. He came to sleep.
That's
what
it's
I
like
would
the same
say.
thing with bachelor parties. When you go on a bachelor party, it's like, we'll go to the track and this and that, but I'm just away from the kids. That's
That's what he was doing. Shout out Elio. He almost won one of these contests. He was red hot. Ended up coming in third, but we'll get it one of these days. He was very good, very good. So
yeah, that sucks. I was watching along and rooting for you guys. I lost. I won the first race of the day, and then I was at Disney on Ice. Had to be the only one at Disney on Ice watching the Pegasus.
I would guess that. Probably true.
You know what he should have done is not come in third, because then next year he could come in first if he got that out of the way. You know what I mean?
Nah, he's good. He was great. He had like 4 exactas. I was ice cold. So all right, that's it. We already did the main one of the story. That's the rundown. See you guys.
See ya.